welcome to another episode of A Salt and Buttery with Intent to Satisfy. Tonight, the first thing we're making is a julienne salsa. Okay, this is a really simple recipe, and to julienne means to cut into long, thin strips, okay? Now, the easiest way I've found to do that with, like, an onion is cut it in half and then just slice, long and thin, okay? But there's a couple extra steps we have to take. So, one of the things we have to do is, now for this, if you want to, you can use a red a red onion. It does make it look prettier, but I happen to have white onions. You know what? They don't taste a whole lot different. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to wear gloves. I'm going to wear gloves because this can get a little bit messy, okay? And also because I'm going to be cutting up some chilies. Now, gloves are a protective measure when cutting up chilies. As you can see, I've already tied my hair back and I've already washed my hands. So, what we're going to want to do with this is we're actually going to want to de-seed the tomatoes, okay? So, first we need to core them, and the easiest way to do that is just take a sharp knife, like a paring knife. Do that, cut it in, see I've cut it in half, this allows easier access. They sell special tools for this, but you don't need that. Okay, see, all done. That part's done. Now, I'm going to do this again because this allows access to more of the seeds. Okay, and here's where it gets a little bit messy. So I just pick up the garbage can, and as you can see, I already have some stuff in the garbage can. And I take my thumb and go in, and I just do that. Now, I like to do this with Roma tomatoes because they actually have less seeds and more pulp. Okay, so you end up losing less that way. Roma tomatoes are also really good for certain other things, but we won't get into that right now. So, once again, the seed's gone. Seed's gone. Okay. At a later point, I'll show you how to peel a tomato. It's actually easier than it seems. There are a couple different methods for that, but we don't need to do that tonight, okay? Now, I need to do this to 2 tomatoes. As you can see, this would otherwise be really messy, okay? But this is the easiest way that I've found to do it. Now, one more. Once again, cut it in half. Because what we're looking for is we want to get rid of this tough, grainy part, this tough, almost like tough strings, okay? That's the core, okay? It's where it was connected to the plant, and that's the part we want to cut out, okay? That's the part that's unpleasant for eating. Now this one is, once again, cut again, and now clean out the seeds and the pulp. Okay, we just basically want to leave the outer flesh. Now remember, this is a julienne salsa, okay, which means long, thin strips. So you don't want to go chopping. Okay, what we actually want is we want to do long, thin. Let's adjust this so we can see a little bit better. Okay, get so that you can see. Yes, here, we can see now. Yeah. And then we just take and go sharp knife. Okay, long, thin strips. Okay, see? Like this, long, thin strips. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of them. You can go ahead and fast forward past this or whatever you want to do, but Once again, my hands are messy, so let's just go ahead and keep chopping. Now, an interesting bit of trivia is at one time, tomatoes were called love apples. And it was believed in Europe that if you shared a tomato with somebody, that would cause them to fall in love with you. We know that this is just a superstition now, so don't worry about sharing tomatoes with somebody from the salad bar, okay? But that was something kind of interesting. And let's not even get into the whole debate about whether tomatoes are a fruit or a vegetable, okay? But tomatoes are a multi-use. I love tomatoes. There are so many good things to do with tomatoes. So let's just have a lot of fun with them. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but one thing that I'm doing is after I've done the slicing to get the part where I pulled the seeds out, okay, that's leaving me with a pretty good chunk here, okay? So what I'm doing here is, instead of continuing to try to slice it this way, which would almost be impossible at this point, I'm just turning it this way and slicing it along this, okay? Once again, long, thin strips, because this is a julienne salsa. Julienne is a fancy word for long, thin strips, okay? And there we go. Almost finished here. And yeah, so far it is 1 onion, 2 tomatoes, okay? Then we're going to be adding 2 chilies to it. And at this point, you can, the chilies are the point where you can decide how hot this is going to be, okay? You can make it as hot or as mild as you want, but once again, this is a safety precaution, is to use gloves when you slice up chilies, because I cannot tell you how often I have gotten some of the juice from the chilies on my hand and then rubbed my eyes 3 hours later, and it's still, oh man, that is a painful lesson. So what I'm going to do is, now at this point, one of the things you can do besides deciding what chili to use is, if you de-seed it, which is to pull all the seeds out, okay, and this little center part, it actually makes it a little bit milder, no matter what type of chili it is. But I am a wimp. I do not want a really hot spiciness here, because as I said, I'm a wimp. So I remove all the seeds, okay, and all the seeds in the center part. Now, I also look for anything that might be not in that great shape on it, like scars or things like that on it. Okay, see, like this little thing. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, that won't hurt anything. I won't lose that much, but it'll give me an off flavor. Now, once again, we're going to thinly slice. So let's go ahead and do another slice there, just to make it a little easier. Okay, I have another part I need to cut out. See that? Okay, that little blackness there, we don't want that. That means something, once again, we're not losing that much. and I would rather cut it out than have it ruin the entire dish. Now, we're trying to not have any seeds left here. So, once again, you saw a couple seeds were stuck there. Yeah. Once again, long, thin strips. Sharp knife, long, thin strips. You can use a paring knife for this. You can use a food processor if you happen to have one. You don't need one, but if you happen to have one, you can go ahead and use it, okay? Long, thin strips. So, here we go. More long, thin strips. Chili. Now we have 2 chilies to do this with. So, here's one. Once again, you can fast forward if you want to. This is not going to take that long to make. Okay, it really isn't, because nothing needs cooked. It's all a matter of the long, thin strips, adding a couple other things to it, and then... I'm not sure. See that? I'm not sure about that. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and say I don't want to ruin my dinner tonight. Okay, so I lose a little bit of chili, but you know what? I've got enough chili here. I can get away with it because I am using 2. Now, as I said, you can use a red onion, okay, which will look a little bit prettier, or you can use a regular old white or yellow onion, okay. I found the white onions to be a little bit harsher, okay, and the yellow onions to be not quite as harsh. So, but it all depends on what flavor you like and what you have available. Like I said, I would do this with the red onion, but guess what? I happen to have a regular yellow onion available, so I went ahead and did that. Long, thin slices. Ooh. Okay, we have some more stuff here that I'm not sure about. So we will cut, we will trim, and we'll say, let's not ruin dinner. Okay, yeah, that's sliced out really nicely. Okay, see, sliced it out, lost hardly anything, because it was caught at that point where this particular chili bent. Instead of being a long straight one, it was slightly bent. So, but we still have plenty of chili to do long thin slices, to add the flavor, to add the spice to this. Now this, like I said, it's a different type of salsa. Most salsas that I'm used to getting in restaurants and stuff like that are chopped. This is not. This is what, like I said, it's a julienne, so it's in a way, it's a little bit fancier. Okay. Now that I've done this, I'm gonna wipe this off really quick because I want to be able to use it for the next step. But you also have to be able to see the bowl that I'm using. So, okay. There we go. Now, at this point, I'm going to add a little bit of, you can use either cilantro or flat leaf Italian parsley, okay? And as you can see, I'm chopping the whole thing. You can even chop the stems of this for something like this, okay? If you're chopping it fine enough and small enough, you can get away with using even the stems. So we have that. Made a mess as usual. Okay, now here we have some olive oil and some lime juice. And then we salt and pepper to taste. Okay. You don't have to use fancy salt like this. I just happen to like this. Okay. And once again, I prefer to use a non-iodized salt. Because I found that the iodized salt tends to have a slight off flavor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this to a slightly larger bowl so that I can mix it, because as you can see, it's a little bit much for this. Now, if this was a salad, I could just chow down on it. But since it is a salsa, I need to mix it because it would be too spicy for me. Okay, I'm a wimp. What can I say? Anyway, so this is a really simple julienne, which means long thin slices, salsa. Okay, I'm actually making it to go with something else, but this is part 1. So once again, thank you. This was another episode of A Salt and Buttery with intent to satisfy, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks.